program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Écoutez, l'oreille lunaire. Le programme commencera bientôt. Profitera.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and Freedom Friday, ladies and gentlemen, Freedom Friday. Speaking of freedom, Elon Musk wants you to have the freedom to be able to create AI nudified images of anyone and everyone. That's right, folks. A federal judge in Minnesota was considering a challenge by Elon Musk's AI company, XAI, very appropriate name, to block a state law banning generated AI nudification technology. It imposes fines of up to $500,000 for software that allows users to create sexually explicit fake images of real people. So we're living in an age where you can take an image of any person in your life on Facebook, on Instagram. Careful what images you share of yourself, especially if it's like a full body image. You know what I mean? You never know what people can do with it these days. And then you can you can feed it to this chat GPT, essentially, I think. Wait a few minutes and you've got an image or video of whoever you'd like. The cashier at Cashwise, maybe, taking her top off for you. It's a scary life we live, ladies and gentlemen. There's no such thing as privacy anymore. If you're walking out in public, you know, unfortunately, especially in like one-party state consent laws where it's like a lot of prank videos get filmed because you can film people on the streets and you can, I don't know, remember the era of prank videos where it was mostly like going into black neighborhoods and stepping on their shoes to try to get a reaction? There was a lot of race baiting back in the 2010s, if nobody remembers. That was a really weird time to be on YouTube. But, okay, that's besides the point. We're not going to focus on the time that YouTube was, like, full of racist prank videos, but it was fun. It was a weird time, like leaving a trunk open to see if it gets ransacked and you leave a MacBook in the back of it. It's just silly. It's ridiculous. While the judge previously rejected a request to halt the law immediately, the court is now deciding whether to pause enforcement while the lawsuit moves forward. Lawyers for XAI, the people behind Grok, the AI chatbot, they are arguing that the state law violates First Amendment speech protections. That's, yeah. I didn't know that. Listen, that's debatable, or at least feels debatable. I don't know that if the founding fathers, the ones who drafted the Constitution, I'm not sure that if they were aware of the idea of this technology. First of all, you have to go back in time and explain to them, hey, in a couple hundred years, there's going to be these things called computers. They are going to evolve into these things called smartphones, where essentially you're going to be able to have this thing called AI, artificial intelligence. They're going to go, what is that? We don't have time to explain it. We just need your opinion on whether or not you should be allowed to use this artificial intelligence in computers to take photographs. And then they go, what is a photograph? And then you go, fuck. All right. Yeah, I forgot that's like 20 years or 30 years in the making. Shit. All right. So basically it's like a painting, but it's like one that is taken with like, there's like going to be this thing called a tintype here in a few years where people are going to hold up like these things that are going to explode next to these, devices that look like they look like little tiny miniguns, essentially, but the person is going to sit behind a curtain and they're going to hold up this broom that looks like it explodes. And then it's going to basically flash a bunch of light at you so that the device can essentially capture an instant painting. That's the best way that I can describe it to you. And he goes, okay, so it's like but it's going to look like real life. And you're like, exactly. So basically, after you take these photographs, these can be used, put into computers, and he's like, what's a computer? You're like, I've already explained that. But we don't have time to get into the full dynamics of it. Do you think that people should be allowed to take these things called photographs, which are essentially instant, realistic paintings? Should you be allowed to recreate, the idea or the image, a video? And they're like, what's a video? And you go, damn it. Okay, essentially you do a little it's like on a screen, you know what I mean? And they're like, what's a screen? You're like, it's like a window, but it's like you can move it wherever you want in your house, and then it like plays whatever is on. It plays literally, it's like a window into wherever you want to look. And they're like, what are you even talking about? And you're like, okay, maybe coming back and trying to get their opinion on it was not the best. It was not the best option. The point I'm trying to make is that I doubt that they would have been able to understand this concept, and if they were, they would have had mixed opinions on it. There would have been some debate as to whether or not this would have been backed up by the not the Second Amendment, the First Amendment. I'm gonna get it. I'll get it eventually, you guys. All right. The company claims that the law is far too broad because it lacks expectations. Blah, 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 blah. What am I doing? Expectations for parody, art, or consented image creation. So they are like, well, hey, yeah, maybe you want to make a parody. You want to do a Weird Al, essentially. But Weird Al, I don't remember an era of Weird Al where he made nude images of the people that he was parodying. The art, I mean, art, I don't think that it's really art if you're using AI for it, or consented image creation. Take a nudie, or have the person that is consenting make a nude video of themselves. How hard is this if it's consented? That at least feels a little bullshit to me. XAI argues that the statute unfairly exposes tech platforms to massive financial penalties, even if users edit photos of themselves. Minnesota state officials are defending the law as an essential guardrail against digital harassment and non-consensual deepfake pornography. State attorneys told the court that existing platform controls fail to stop malicious image generation, leaving victims with little protection. The judge is expected to issue a decision on the injunction in the coming weeks. Very fun. Very, very fun. Let's hear a teensy bit about this.
A federal judge is now weighing a controversial lawsuit pitting free speech against AI protections. Elon Musk owns XAI. The company is challenging Minnesota's ban on AI-powered apps that create fake sexualized images of real people. Adam Dubster shares the key arguments and why lawmakers
what a weird debate.
This last-ditch effort won't hold up.
I just want to acknowledge how bizarre this headline is. Let me read this for you right here. Judge considers Elon Musk company's push to block AI nudification ban. This doesn't feel like a real. Granted, I was born in 2003, and people would go like, "You were born in the digital age. You should have expected something like this." I didn't expect it to be a major debate in our society. That it's like, should we allow the computer to create pornography of others, whether or not they know you're creating pornography of them? That feels weird to me.
After a federal judge rejected XAI's attempts to stop Minnesota's new AI nudification law from taking effect, company lawyers are still making their case in court, this time asking for an injunction while their case plays out. At the center of their argument, the idea that Minnesota's new law goes too far. The company using these photos as an example, showing Donald Trump shirtless, along with another photo of Chris Christie and J.B. Pritzker sumo wrestling. These, they argue, would be blocked under the new law and risk the company a $500,000 fine. They also admit XAI has and is being used in an attempt to make child sex abuse material. The company says so far this year, they filed 70,000 reports to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that have led to 244 arrests.
Good.
It was astounding to listen to XAI say, well, we too are against child sexual abuse material. We too are against image-based sexual violence. And yet they provide the tool to people to do it. They are not some third-party bystander. They're not a platform in which people are uploading it. They are giving people the tool to do it.
Senator Aaron May-Quaid says it's evidence this law is needed.
They like to pretend like they're just as upset, they're just as shocked, they're just as horrified about this content appearing on their platform, and yet they are the ones who are giving people the tool to do it.
Tuesday, the DOJ wrote a letter of interest in the case, arguing that states must be careful not to impose excessive measures against AI companies.
I would argue that the argument that we're placing too many boundaries on AI companies right now is a little ridiculous. But, everybody's entitled to their own opinions. Folks, President Donald Trump has announced plans to hold an in-person meeting with the North Korean leader Kim Jong Un later this year. They're aiming to revive direct diplomacy between the two nations. Because why? They have so much to offer us. Specific logistics have not been formally confirmed by the White House. Reports indicate officials are eyeing a potential summit during Trump's upcoming trip to Asia in November for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in China. To signal goodwill, the administration recently moved to scale back joint U.S.-South Korean military exercises, and a long-standing point of friction for Pyongyang, which, if you don't know, is the capital of North Korea. I know, it's a very fun one. I love Pyongyang. Addressing reports, President Trump defended his push for renewed engagement, offering a rare public estimate that North Korea currently possesses 57 nuclear weapons. Trump emphasized his personal relationship with Kim, arguing that open lines of communication remain the most effective way to manage regional security risks. I agree with that. I just think you don't need to be overly friendly with people. The prospect, though, is just it's facing a lot of skepticism from Pyongyang. First of all, they're going to have to get ready like the interview. They have to amp up security. They have to realize realize that this could be an assassination attempt, if they're smart and whatnot. Meanwhile, Asia's allies have voiced a lot of concern, naturally, that reducing joint military drills and publicly acknowledging North Korea's nuclear arsenal could undermine established deterrent strategies across the Pacific.
This morning, as the war with Iran approaches 6 months with no end in sight, President Trump suggesting he's in no hurry to resume negotiations.
Yeah, he's got to meet up with Kim.
Right now, I think the situation is so good.
Overnight, the president posting on social media that the U.S. will launch, quote, economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale against Iran, calling it an economic D-Day. Iran's foreign minister labeling the move, quote, a diversion from America's own crisis, unprecedented debt, and surging interest costs. It comes after the news yesterday that America's national debt passed the $40 trillion mark for the first time in history. The debt has doubled in the last decade, exploding in both President Trump's first term and under President Biden, largely due to pandemic response spending. While the Trump administration says it's working to drive down the debt, it's also spending...
Isn't it fun to know that, most of the national debt just got stolen?
...big on tax cuts and the Iran war. Yesterday, the president again calling out allies for not joining him in that fight and praising a longtime U.S. foe, North Korea, telling reporters he's been in contact with dictator Kim Jong Un and hopes to meet with him later this year.
The fact that I get along with him, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. He has 57 very powerful nuclear weapons.
In a show of goodwill, the president ordering joint military exercises cut short with U.S. ally South Korea. Despite 3 in-person meetings between Kim and Trump during his first term, I pressed the president on why he thinks this time would be different.
Is your goal in trying to re-engage with Chairman Kim still denuclearization? And what makes you think you could be successful now when you weren't?
Well, I don't want to talk about that, but I do have a...
Well, I don't want to talk about that.
Kim Jong Un, we speak, and I think our nation and I think other nations, frankly, whether it's Japan or South Korea, they're a lot safer if I'm president than if somebody else is president.
President, folks. By the way, people might scoff when I said that a lot of the money from COVID was flat out stolen. When combined with the additional $123 billion that was wasted or misspent through the administrative errors, the total financial loss climbs over $400 billion. Around $280 billion to $300 billion or more in federal COVID-19 relief money was flat out stolen by fraudsters. This is proven. Federal oversight agencies and independent investigations have calculated it. So don't yell at me. That $400 billion, representing roughly 10% of the $4.2 to $4.6 trillion in pandemic aid distribution we put out, was stolen. Don't argue with me. Argue with your government, okay? Independent watchdogs, U.S. Government Accountability Office, the GAO, and the Pandemic Response Accountability Committee, PRAC. All of them attribute the massive theft to the rushed rollout and the initial lack of basic verification, safeguards, anything. It was all just... It was like, oh, okay, here's a bucket of money. I want everybody to come in and dip their hands in. Take as much as you'd like. It was literally putting out the candy bowl and saying, trust system, take one, please. It was ridiculous.
Well, let's talk about the president's interaction with another world leader. He says he expects to meet with Kim Jong Un later this year. What do we know about that potential meeting?
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise from the president today when talking with reporters. They asked him if he's going to meet with Kim Jong Un, especially after the fact that the president asked the Secretary of Defense very publicly this week to pull back some U.S. participation in those South Korean military exercises. The president said, yeah, he will be meeting with Kim Jong Un. We don't have a date for this. This is a surprise. We are in August, so we are nearing the back half of the year when supposedly this meeting is going to take place. It could potentially happen in November in China. There is an APEC summit that the president has said he would like to attend. That would be his second trip to China this year if he were to go. But, there still have been announcements from Washington or from North Korea that meeting is on the books. And
can I just ask, what are we getting out of this? What is it? What are their main exports of North Korea? Gravel? I don't know exactly, what pits are we thinking that we're going to be able to dig diamonds out of? I really don't know that Pyongyang is brimming with resources.
Planning to happen. The president also made note of just how many nuclear warheads that the North Koreans have. He said that that number is now at 57, so certainly notable, especially as the president has been talking about diminishing nuclear capabilities in other countries around the world, from Syria to Iran, that he is willing to have this type of friendship and meeting with North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un.
All right, so let's talk about Iran. If we put a microphone up to that region, would it be crickets as far as peace talks today?
Well, as far as peace talks between the U.S. and Iran, yeah, there are no talks happening, no direct talks as well, even though earlier this week we heard from Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, saying that they are having back-channel conversations. The president has reiterated over and over again that they are not. He said that yesterday in a Truth Social post.
Folks, I would like to apologize. North Korea is actually very rich in natural resources. Estimates suggest its unextracted mineral wealth could be worth around $6 trillion to $10 trillion, suggesting large deposits of coal, iron ore, gold, zinc, copper, graphite, magnesite, and rare earth minerals and metals are all underneath it. So what was I saying? You know what I mean? I was like, okay, maybe this is maybe we can get a couple mining contracts. We can get, because we don't want them doing it. We want Americans going over there and staying in hotels. But granted, do we really want to put our own people at risk like that? I mean, the people in West Virginia, they're willing to work for anything. So like, I'm saying we get a couple of contracts. Sure, if they break the laws, they're going to be like, they're going to be sent into a prison where they're going to be, unfortunately, they may never be heard from again. They'll get some like foodborne illness, and then they'll be paralyzed. It'll be terrible. But that's exactly what happens in those sorts of prisons. And one of their biggest things that they have is magnesite. North Korea holds the second largest reserve in the world, interestingly enough. Coal and iron are the backbone of the country's domestic mining and historical export sectors. Very fun. Significant quantities of zinc, lead, tungsten, and gold exist across multiple provinces. And exploratory data indicates large potential reserves of critical tech-associated metals that they could need for your iPhone. So maybe it's not a bad idea. Can we colonize it? I'd love to make it a state.
He had previously said that they were at one point having those back-channel talks. He then later said that they weren't. Today, though, the president did say that, in an effort to downplay the situation, he said that negotiations with Iran could resume at some point, he says. But he said right now that the U.S. has complete control over the Strait of Hormuz, so he doesn't deem it as necessary, to have those negotiations at this point. He really downplayed it, saying they got to get rid of their nuclear weapon, but we have possession, complete control of the strait. He said out of the nuisance value being Iran's still maintained capability to shoot down or to shoot missiles and drones at neighboring countries and U.S. bases. So the president calling that a nuisance value, but yeah,
a nuisance. That's what it is. I love that. The idea that they could be shooting. They could literally be shooting the Arab planes out of the sky that hold American citizens. Who knows? Who cares though? That's the thing. Don't fly over Iranian airspace. What are you doing in the Middle East in the first place? How many times do I have to tell you that it's not a safe place to be? It's only marginally safer than Europe, folks. I'm just kidding. They're bringing their culture into Europe, and it's beautiful and it's fun, and knife crimes are going up. It's fun, ladies and gentlemen. Gang violence is up. It's fun. Diversity is our strength. FBI has seized former Representative Eric Swalwell's electronic devices, and they have searched his home. Over the weekend, they actually did this. They seized electronic devices from the former Democratic congressman. He's no longer currently serving, Eric Swalwell. They searched his Washington, D.C. home. Investigators confronted him at the San Francisco International Airport shortly after he arrived on a flight, executing a search warrant to confiscate his personal cell phone and laptop. Federal agents then carried out a second search warrant at his Capitol Hill residence the following day. All of these are court authorized. They didn't just go in there, and bang on his door and say, hey, a sheriff's in town. We're going to have to rifle through your laundry to see if you have, I don't know, do you have the girl's brooch who died in the lumberyard or whatever? She was missing her pearl necklace. Maybe you kept it for a trophy. But there's some serious allegations and case you were unaware of sexual assault and misconduct, Swalwell resigned from the House of Representatives in April following reports detailed by the San Francisco Chronicle and CNN, in which multiple women, including a former staff member, accused him of sexual assault and sending unsolicited explicit material. What does that mean? The former California lawmaker subsequently ended his campaign for state governor. He could have still won. That's the thing. Nowadays, you don't get fully canceled even for sexual assault or anything like that. Jared Leto's going to be in more movies, and Harvey Weinstein. I was about to say Harry Weinstein, if he was a white guy. Harry what would be a white Weingarter? I think let's go with that would be his white name. His white name. By the way, Jews aren't white, folks. According to court filings, federal investigators are examining potential violations of civil rights laws, including whether Swalwell used his official position to deprive individuals of constitutional rights. What the fuck? What is this guy doing? Is he locking them up? Is he I think this guy's got chains. I think that he's depriving people of the right to leave. What else could they be talking about? The execution of the search warrants are indicating a judge found probable cause to search his property. Law enforcement officials note that no formal criminal charges have been filed. Swalwell has denied the sexual assault claims of while acknowledging past errors in judgment. What does that mean?
More trouble for embattled former Congressman Eric Swalwell. The FBI executing a search warrant as he arrived at a San Francisco airport on Saturday, seizing electronic devices, including his cell phone. His home in Washington, D.C. also searched the following day as part of the ongoing investigation into sexual misconduct allegations. That, according to a person familiar with the matter.
It doesn't help that he looks like he would be guilty of something like that. Unfortunately, some men, they carry the appearance of it, and he has a very, I'm just going to say it, alky. He looks like, what is his racial background? He looks maybe Irish. Swalwell, race and ethnicity. I always do this with any person. I'm always like, name, race, and ethnicity. He's a mix of white, mixed European, and Portuguese descent. His paternal ancestry includes English, Scottish, that's where it came from, the red kind of, the red pasty appearance, and Portuguese roots, with his paternal grandmother being of Portuguese descent from Hawaii, while his maternal ancestry includes Swedish and Danish heritage. Get out of here, I'm sorry to say. I grew up with too many Swedish people. They made me racist against them. He's half English, his father's side, half English, Scottish, half Portuguese, half Swedish, half Danish on his mother's side. Birthplace, Sac City, Iowa, that's a name. What? And then raised in Dublin, California. Okay, maybe that's his Irish vibe. I know that Dublin. Shut up. I know.
The FBI and Attorney General Todd Blanche declining to comment.
I'm not allowed to talk about any sort of ongoing investigation. It's certainly not what role I played in it.
Fair.
So yeah, I can't comment on that.
Fair.
Swalwell was a leading candidate for governor of California until multiple women accused him of sexual assault or misconduct.
These allegations of sexual assault are flat false. They're absolutely false.
One of the women included Lana Drews, who said he drug, raped, and choked her in 2018.
I believe he drugged my drink.
Otherwise known as the John Mulaney courtship technique.
I only had one glass of wine. He raped me. And he choked me.
In a statement today, Drews' attorney says that she's not spoken to the FBI, but is encouraged to learn about the escalation in their apparent investigation. NBC News has reached out to Swalwell's...
He might have thought you were into it. He was like, you like when I choke you?
...team, but have not heard back yet. But earlier this year, Swalwell's attorney categorically...
I don't like how the tip of his ears, the top of them, they go all the way to his eyebrows, and the bottom, like the lobe part of his ears, go all the way down to the bottom of his lip. Like, how do you do that? His ears are wide.
...denied every allegation, calling them, quote, false, fabricated, and deeply offensive. Swalwell abandoned his race for governor and eventually resigned his seat in Congress. Tonight, NBC News has confirmed Democrat State Senator Aisha Wahab will fill his seat until January.
Aisha.
And Ryan, it doesn't end there. There is new information tonight about Swalwell's relationship with a purported Chinese spy. Yes, Tom, the White House released previously classified documents that show that Swalwell admitted to having an intimate relationship with the woman who was then deported after being accused of being a spy. However, he was investigated by both the House Ethics Committee and the Department of Justice, and they found no wrongdoing.
Eric, keep a lid on it. You gotta clean up your act, buddy. I'm gonna be real with you. This is like, you're risking everything. And this is like, I know that Friday energy, I shouldn't be scolding people, but like, he's really risking everything. You know what? I know that he might have already done it. I know that he might have already grabbed a couple women by the throat, but listen, it's never too late to change, and it's never too late to be a better person. You can make it better. I'm not doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, the rapid fire section of today's headlines. A lot of things you need to know about in order to keep your media diet healthy. Alcohol consumption has dropped to a record low, and people are upset about this, oddly enough. According to new Gallup research, watching many people die of alcoholism, this makes me very happy. Why are some people, do they not like the idea that it's not as easy to approach people? Because it's like, I understand that at a bar, everybody's on equal footing, but nowadays you go to a bar, not everybody's drunk. Some people are there and they're high, some people are there and they're dead sober. You know, bars are a different energy these days. They're not the same kind of place that people remember back in the 2000s, the 90s, or whatever. But the bars are different. It's a different scene.
Welcome back, everyone. Apparently, Americans are not drinking like they used to. Alcohol consumption remains at a record low.
That's a good thing.
Research released today by Gallup. So what's driving this trend, and what are Americans replacing alcohol with? Let's take a look by
smoking.
The numbers. 54%.
Smoking is back, by the way. A lot of people are smoking cigarettes. Idiots, by the way. Most of these people are dumbasses. Most, some of these people, they're like, they're sitting by a pool. They're like, yeah, I got money. Yeah, I got a retirement account. Yeah, I can afford to smoke this cigarette. All right, yeah, that sounds great. Look forward to dying sometime in your 60s if you continue to keep up that habit, though. You know what I mean? Like, get a lid on it, buddy. I'm going to be real.
Don't say that they drink alcohol. That matches last year's record low. That's
54%. Only 54% of people drink alcohol? That's crazy.
Down significantly in just a couple of years. In
2023, it was 62?
62% of adults said that they drank alcohol. 13% say that they sometimes drink too much, also a record low for that metric. Meanwhile, 17% of people say that they have substituted a non-alcoholic beverage for alcohol. 51% now consider moderate drinking bad for your health.
What, 51%? I thought, wait, 49% of people are still dumb? Yeah, moderate drinking is bad. How hard is it to understand that? And people are like, yeah, but wine is good for your heart. Not if you're drinking it every night. Not if you're drinking it like 3 to 4 times a week. That's getting ridiculous, all right?
Prior to 2023, a majority of Americans said moderate drinking makes no difference in your health. Just 6% of people said that they thought moderate alcohol consumption is good for your health.
So 6% of Americans are retarded.
That number has been falling for decades. In 2005, more than 25% said moderate amounts of alcohol.
These are like the people that go like, no, weed is actually good for you. It doesn't, there's no risk for it giving you emphysema. There's no risk for it in the future. Like, weed is not a miracle drug, but it certainly is better than alcohol. I'm going to be so real with you. A lot of people, or at least a lot of the researchers will tell you, you're better off smoking weed every day than you are drinking every day. It's not to say that you should do either. You shouldn't do either, but it's just to say that one is moderately less bad. However, it can still lead to effects and it can still lead to risks for you. So don't take anything assuming that they're not going to be consequences for it, all right? That's the truly stupid thing.
For you.
These are not vitamins, you know what I mean? You're not drinking raw vitamins.
Americans' favorite type of alcohol, beer is still king, but the lead is shrinking. 36% of Americans prefer beer, 32% prefer cocktails, and 30% prefer wine. Younger Americans, they are behind the surge in popularity for liquor, while wine is most popular among people older than
Wine
55.
is delicious.
For more on this changing trend,
I love a good red. I'm sorry, I have to just get this in real quick. I love a good dry red. I'm one of these people where they'll go like, I want a fruity wine, I want a sweeter wine or whatever. I like it when it feels like the moisture out of your mouth is gone. Why do I like that sort of a red? Because I normally pair reds with a nice, like, rich red meat. And when you have that much grease, present on the meat, on your palate, that wine, rather than being like the fruitier ones that they work alongside the greasier elements, it's instead, if it has that drying effect, it actually makes you salivate more. It helps in cleaning out that grease feeling that you get from the meats that you're eating. But just a thing to remember next time that you decide to get any red meats and want to pair a red with it, you know what I mean? Get a nice, you don't have to get like something that's going to make the all of the saliva in your mouth completely feel like it's gone. It's like, you don't have to get that dry of a red. You just have to get enough to where it's going to make you salivate.
Bring in ABC News medical contributor Dr. Darian Sutton. All right, so just break it down for us. What actually happens to our bodies when we're consuming alcohol?
An important question. So when we consume alcohol, it's broken down into a toxic metabolite called acetaldehyde, and that's where the harm lies. It doesn't matter whether you're drinking beer, hard liquor, or wine. When that acetaldehyde gets into your body, it causes a multitude of changes, which can include oxidative stress on our cells. That increases the risk of developing abnormal cells, and that's the basis for cancer, as well as inflammation and even hormone dysregulation. I think what is becoming more talked about is the fact that alcohol itself is a known carcinogen. It's related to at least 7 different types of cancer, and in fact, in 2025, the U.S. Surgeon General Advisory Committee concluded that alcohol contributed to at least 100,000 new cancer cases every year and at least 20,000 new cancer-related deaths.
Welcome back, everyone.
Okay, so maybe moderate drinking is out. Maybe, like, instead, relaxing with a joint is in. I'm sorry to say it. Like, if weed is going to be lame, and if it's going to be legal, and if it's going to be this thing where people, there's no stigma around it, there's no, like, cool vibe around being a smoker anymore, I think that we just need to fully embrace it. I think people need to start smoking every night of their lives if they're, instead of being an alcoholic, because admittedly, either way, you're probably fucking up your body to some extent. Wouldn't you rather not wake up with a hangover? Wouldn't you rather not wake up feeling like, oh shit, I consumed 8,000 calories last night and all I had was wine or whatever? You forget how many calories are really in beer, wine, all of these sorts of things. People are like, no, I drink vodka. I drink all these clear alcohols. That has many calories that you're just choosing to ignore. That's perfectly fine. Folks, when you land in the hospital, you got to make sure that you're in the hands of people who really know what they're doing. A drug mix-up at this hospital in Nashville, Tennessee, has reportedly left 2 patients paralyzed and at least one other on a ventilator. Officials are saying that they were given the wrong medication prior to surgery. You have to. I'm sorry, you cannot. Listen, people get at me because they're like, you don't trust Western medicine? They have not given me a reason to. They've given me a reason to trust certain advancements that they've made. Just like, oh yeah, the Christians, they gave us the Gregorian calendar. That's pretty great. You know what I mean? It's a good thing. It's been pretty great to schedule all of our lives on. You know what I mean? The Christians, they gave us, a lot of the morals that, a lot of the laws that we take for granted were based on back in the 17 or something hundreds. People want to go, well, the founding fathers were anti-Christian. They were anti the whatever government. They were anti-Puritans. That's actually not true. The Puritans moved over here in order to build their like God government that they wanted to have in Europe. But they couldn't have that in Europe because guess what? There was no true God in Europe. The king was God in Europe. But whatever. A lot of people they don't want to talk about history. They don't want to talk about actualities, whatever. My point is, if you cannot credit the people who read the Bible every day and maybe have struggled with it and whatnot, they had relationships with Christ, they went to church and whatnot, if you cannot credit the founding fathers with the idea that Christianity heavily influenced the laws that we live with every single day right now, you're not living in a layer of reality, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. You have to have some layer of like, okay, yes, there are positive things that we can gain, but we can also acknowledge that Christians are a part of a pedophile cult, and they all of them work to service grander purposes that none of them truly understand. That is that can also be true. Western medicine can be a very similar cult, but it can also give you a vaccine that saves lives. Not with COVID, but sometimes. You know what? Let's just cut the shit and listen to this story.
4 people expecting routine surgeries at this Tennessee hospital are now facing a medical nightmare. A drug mix-up at Ascension St. Thomas Midtown Hospital in Nashville reportedly left 2 patients paralyzed and at least 1 other on a ventilator after officials say they were given the wrong medication prior to surgery. Now, those 4 patients were reportedly given potassium instead of an anesthetic.
Okay, can I have a complicated perspective, and many people are probably going to disagree with me. The nurses and the doctors should be put on trial, and they should likely receive life in jail. They should receive life. They are responsible personally for the lives of these people being never the same, and people want to go, it was a tough day at work. They're not allowed to have tough days. People want to go like, well, humans are always going to have tough days. You have to understand when these medical mix-ups happen. No, actually I don't, and you're making the argument for AI doctors. Because guess what? The computer is not going to make an error. The computer is not going to give you the wrong medication. The computer is not going to be, giving you the wrong injection of however many cc's. The computer is going to be able to scan you, know all your biometrics, and know exactly how much to give you in order to make sure that you don't have an overdose. You really want a human being to be the one that does it? Oh yeah, okay. I know that doctors, when they hear this, they get a little shaky in their boots. They're like, please don't make my 8 to 12 years of going to college not mean anything. Then make sure that you are the type to not make any mistakes. If you want to be in this profession, you have to be not just as good as a machine, you have to be better. And when you are not, when you are a failure, when you proceed to lose someone's life, when it was very much not even that wasn't even an option on the table. These people were coming in for routine surgeries. These people were not coming in to be paralyzed. They were not coming in to be given potassium instead of the anesthetic. You are personally responsible for it. And people always... The nurses, by the way, I hate nurses. I hate nurses. Some of them are the most evil people in the world, unfortunately. Not all of them, but nurses as a kind, when they get their stupid little posters, they stand outside of a courthouse of a nurse who fucking killed an old man because she gave him the wrong injection, and they're like, no, please, don't hold her accountable for her actions. She just made a mistake. Life in jail. These people are not allowed to make mistakes because they are, listen, people want to go, you're holding them to too high a standard. Am I really? Am I holding them to such a high standard that I expect them never to give the wrong medication to their patient? What the fuck are you talking about? Get out. This is the idea that it's like, well, we shouldn't fire the chef just because he gave the person who's allergic to shellfish the lobster bisque. What are you talking about? They were made aware of the allergen beforehand. They were made aware of this person's risks. They were made aware of the idea that if they fuck this up, it's a person's life. This, I'm sorry to say it, I've always hated the nursing community because they're mindless and they band together and they always just go like, well, no, because if one of them gets held accountable, then maybe they could hold us all accountable. Let's all go stand outside this courthouse and make sure they never get the chance to hold any of us accountable. Never trust a nurse. I'm sorry. Unless they've proven to you that they are trustworthy, you can never trust a nurse. They are the types that will give you the wrong injection and they will giggle about it in the back room with all their buddies later about it. They'll be like, I was supposed to give 60 cc's of this. I accidentally gave him 80. He's going to be having a good day today.
Family of one of those patients told our CBS affiliate in Nashville the mix-up happened inside the hospital's pharmacy. Now, hospital staff apparently realized something was terribly wrong when multiple patients went into cardiac arrest. Too much potassium given too quickly can stop a person's heart.
And if it's not the doctors, if it's not the nurses, if in this case they went ahead and it was like, well, no, it's the pharmacy. They actually put the wrong medication in the wrong labeled bag. Then they should be the ones going to jail for life. Then the pharmacist should be the one. Like, I'm saying down the chain of command. People want to go like, well, no, hold the CEOs accountable. Like, kill the person who's like, why does my tissue paper cost $80 next to my hospital bed? Kill him, whatever. How about you kill the people that work at the hospital who kill people every day? How about that? This is not a legitimate suggestion. We're talking about societal things and we're having satire about it. It's fun. We're talking about if people really want accountability, if people really, really want, maybe we should hold the people who are killing people and, making everybody go bankrupt accountable. Hold the hospital accountants accountable. Hold the people who set the prices at hospitals accountable. They should be the ones getting a bullet to the neck first, not the people sitting on the board of directors, excuse you. Satire.
Said they were, quote, deeply sorry for the harm caused and have implemented corrective safeguards to prevent something like this from happening again.
Oh, sure.
And we know the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations is now looking into this mix-up, but there are still a lot of unanswered questions. The hospital has also not made it clear what those safety protocols now include.
Someone needs to go to jail for life for this. I'm sorry, I'm not forgiving, especially when you're the type of person to say, I want to go into the medical industry because I just want to help people. then you have to be ready to help people in the sense where if you are an imperfect person, you need to get out. If you are an imperfect person, if you're like, oh, I'm just a ditz, I don't know whether or not I'm looking at ampinephrine or ampinephrine or something, like I just can't, I'm a little ditz, I can't get these details correct. You need to get out. You're not right for this field. You're not proper. You shouldn't have gotten this because you're like, I just have good bedside manner. No, if you just have good bedside manner, but you're not the greatest with how many zeros go behind, a measurement of liquid, you need to get out and you need to be arrested and you need to be put in jail. I'm sorry to say it. Folks, I'm not going to apologize, actually. I'm not going to apologize. Nurses need to be held accountable. Doctors need to be held accountable. Pharmacists need to be held accountable. Somebody needs to go to jail for life for this. Ladies and gentlemen, a masked man in Philadelphia apparently was, having some fun, going outside of, like, the city center. They were, like, he was wearing a doll mask. He was running around chasing people. And the arrest warrant now has been issued for 22-year-old Zymir Hughes, a black gentleman, because he's old enough to where I can call him a gentleman, not a boy. You think this is funny? Well, get ready to get scared, because we got the handcuffs. We got the jail cell. We got the Philly jury that's gonna tell you it's not funny at all, said District Attorney Larry Krasner during a news conference on Thursday.
Now to a major break in the manhunt for a masked man accused of terrorizing people in Center City. Investigators have now identified the man behind the mask as 22-year-old Zymir Hughes.
Zymir.
Officials also released brand new surveillance images right here of the suspect. Let's get right over to Action News reporter Brianna Smith, who's live at police headquarters with the details.
He looks goofy, man.
Christy, this investigation has really gained national attention, and Philadelphia police are determined to find Zymir Hughes. Now, they believed he left the city 2 days ago, and they say he has ties to Los Angeles and Las Vegas for employment.
Uh-oh.
You think it's funny to make people run? Get your sneaks.
Get your sneaks.
That's what Zymir Hughes is doing right now.
Now the roles are reversed. Philadelphia police and U.S. Marshals are on the hunt for Zymir Hughes. Investigators say the 22-year-old terrorized several people in Center City while wearing this Chucky-style mask.
That's so funny.
It's funny to scare people?
Yeah.
Well, get ready to get scared by us. Because we got the handcuffs, we got the jail cell.
Police released a new video of the suspect harassing people on August 12th after 5 a.m. He started at 10th and Chestnut Streets.
It's readily apparent that this individual is certainly in fear of their life.
Surveillance video shows Hughes also stopped in Duncan on Chestnut Street, tapping on a customer. Police say he chased at least 16 people before running into this jogger.
Makes that statement to her, "Are you ready to die?" She's startled. He repeats that phrase.
The motive?
I think he filmed this for social media content, either A, for his own sick personal amusement, or B, he had plans of posting it online at some point.
Sick personal amusement.
Police say Hughes eventually went to Suburban Station where officers asked him to remove the mask. Hughes managed to evade them to take a bus to 23rd and Venango Streets near his apartment. That's where police found clear shots to help identify the man behind the mask.
There may be people who think this is somehow enjoyable. It's also criminal.
Yeah, it is. Criminal behavior can be funny sometimes.
Police say Hughes is already on probation for a crime he committed in Montgomery County.
That makes sense.
He'll face felony and misdemeanor charges. Detectives urge anyone with information or additional victims to come forward.
Don't you know where he lives? Don't you, have his apartment? What the fuck are you talking about? If anybody has any information, you know where he lives. Wait, do a stakeout. Go chill in his apartment until he comes back. I don't know. I love when police forces are very, very competent. Folks, Ukraine strikes on Russian oil refineries, depots, other oil infrastructure. It's leading to a fuel crisis earlier this summer, and it's getting to the point where people are, getting into fistfights at gas stations. You know what I mean? It's with gasoline shortages they're spreading across the country, and authorities and petrol station chains introducing restrictions on gasoline sales. It's not getting fun. It's lines literally down the highways. The situation improved by early August, but the shortages have since returned, according to the Russian media. There's hold on. Let's just see if we can get a word from these people. Long queues were seen at a petrol station in Moscow where drivers complained that things had gotten significantly worse in just a couple of days. It's like lines of these not even Russian cars, because there's no Russian cars. It's all imported. Yeah, lines and lines and lines. The biggest queue formed today. Yesterday, the day before, 4 days ago, everything was fine, perfect. We stopped and filled up without restrictions. Today, it's just, I don't know. Words can't describe it. You see it for yourself. And the second queue on the opposite side of the road is all the way to the Moscow ring? Ring Road. And the same here. Russia is one of the world's biggest energy producers, with oil providing an economic mainstay. As its military tries to push deeper into Ukraine in a slow, costly advance for more than 4 years after the conflict started, Ukraine drone attacks have dented Russia's refining capacity, causing shortages and petrol prices to spike. Of course it's very bad, this old woman said. Margarita Terekova. God, she's a pensioner. I love Russian last names. Terekova. Of course it's very bad. Why? Because we are living a normal life and then suddenly this happened. Kiev officials say the onslaught is meant to compel Russian President Vladimir Putin to seek a peace deal, but there's no sign that that strategy is working. Well, I stood in line for about an hour and 20 minutes today. This poor guy driving the company car, he had to waste his whole lunch. How is it affecting your work? How? I'm supposed to go and get some spare parts now, but I need to fill up the boss's car because he's going home and the tank is empty. Well, very fun. I mean, I hope that you're not Russian listening to this. If you are, I don't know. How do you say sorry in Russian? What is a Russian? How to say sorry? All right. I can't read that. How do you pronounce that? Извини. Извини. Sorry. Извини. All of you Russians. I hope the situation gets better in any perceivable way. Doesn't seem like that right now, but that's okay. You know, war is coming. World War III is probably on its way, but I'm just going to be real with you. Enjoy gas prices when they are only this high. When they are through the roof in the next few weeks, when they are, in the next few months, when the Ukrainian conflict finally crosses that sort of the Caucasian region. And people are like, what are you talking about Caucasian? The Caucasus Mountains area between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Once it unites the fronts between Azerbaijan, Georgia, and whatnot, Iran, those two wars are going to touch. And World War III will erupt, folks. It's going to be a fun time. But listen, I'm not saying this is for sure going to happen. I'm not saying anything. I don't know anything more than you do. And you know what? You're probably more so correct in your assumptions of what may happen than I am. You might be like, well, Russia is going to invade us tomorrow. They're going to redo Pearl Harbor. They might. I don't know at this point, folks. But you know what I do know? The FDA has upgraded a frozen berry recall to the highest risk level. This is our final story for the day. I hope you have enjoyed this week's onslaught of stories. I've had a wonderful time reading them all to you. I hope you've had an even more wonderful time listening to them. Now we covered this. Federal regulators have elevated a recall of organic frozen blueberries and mixed berries to a Class 1 designation. This is the highest. They have 3, 2, and 1. The highest risk level issued by the Food and Drug Administration. The decision follows an ongoing investigation into a multi-state outbreak of E. coli infections linked to products sold under the Greenwise brand at Publix supermarkets. I don't shop at Publix, thank God. A Class 1 warning signifies that federal health officials believe the exposure to the product carries a reasonable probability of causing serious health consequences or death. Death from something you're going to sprinkle on your yogurt. Listen, I've seen you nasty pieces of shit. You don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. You grab those berries right out of the bag. You don't wash them. Don't fucking lie to me. You do not rinse those even for a second. You're like, well, didn't they wash them when they put them in the bag? Shut the fuck up. You always rinse your fruit. Anything that grows out of the ground. I don't understand these people that are like, well, it's just like they already clean it at the factory, don't they? What are you talking about? There's a massive E. coli outbreak. It's not iCarly. E. coli is not like iCarly. The affected items include 10-ounce and 48-ounce packages of Greenwise organic whole blueberries and whole mixed berries with Best Buy dates prior to February 2028. These things last a while. Distributed across 8 southern eastern states, the items were pulled from the store shelves earlier this summer, but health authorities warn consumers may still have them stored in home freezers. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, a dozen illnesses and multiple hospitalizations have been reported in connection with the contamination. Health officials are urging anyone with recalled products to throw them away immediately or return them to any public store for a full refund. E. coli infections typically present with severe stomach cramps, vomiting, and bloody diarrhea, and can lead to life-threatening kidney failure in vulnerable groups like young children and the elderly or immunocompromised. Anyone experiencing these symptoms after consuming frozen berries is advised to contact a medical professional right away. You know, if you get the shits from, it's expected though, from if you're eating because most of these people, they're not eating handfuls of berries. Most of these people are intermingling it with salad or yogurt. Yogurt's the biggest thing that I think people do. Is that the biggest thing? What do people use frozen berries for? What, smoothies also, right? Is that another thing? What do people use frozen berries for? Because I'm just curious, because I never buy these. All right, frozen berries work great in quick bakes, warm desserts, and fast smoothies. You do not need to thaw them for most recipes. Ooh, this is like a mix. Okay, this is a berry crisp. Mix 6 cups of frozen berries with 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/3 cup flour, and 1 tablespoon vanilla. Top with a blend of 1 cup flour, 3/4 cup of oats, 1/2 cup brown sugar, and 1/3 cup of cold butter. Bake at 350 for 50 to 60 minutes until golden. That looks delicious. What am I talking about? This has nothing to do with anything. You're probably safe off if you, if you were to cook it, but honestly, I don't think that kills the E. coli. You're still better off tossing it and going and getting the Great Value brand.
FDA now warning that eating some frozen blueberries could potentially kill you. That's right, kill you. Not make you sick, kill you.
You'll die.
It ups the E. coli threat to its highest level. We're talking about these prepackaged blueberries and mixed berries from the brand Greenwise. Publix grocery stores pulled them off the shelves across the country a few weeks back over potential E. coli contamination. This is where the outbreak stands. 12 cases in Florida. In Georgia, they have 4 of those ending up in the hospital. The CDC says the true count is probably much higher. Dr. Akash Sal is here to talk about this one. So, Doc, how does raising the threat here change how people should be buying their groceries?
Well, so this has to do with the sort of level of risk that the FDA has assessed, right? And it's assessed through something called a class recall. So, when the FDA recalls products, they put them into different classes, class 1, class 2, or class 3. As you alluded to, this is a class 1 recall. This is the FDA saying that these sort of product that they're recalling could cause serious adverse health consequences or death. You may recall, Ryan, a few weeks ago, earlier this summer, we heard about an egg recall linked to salmonella. That was also a class 1 recall, so this isn't the first time we're seeing that, level of seriousness in terms of a food recall. Class 2, Ryan, could be products that could potentially make you sick or potentially make you temporarily sick. And class 3 is something that they're recalling that is unlikely to make you sick. So out of the 3 classes, this is the highest category, the most serious, and why
you'll die.
Also seriously.
Well, we're taking it seriously in my house. We have 4 kids. We eat a lot of frozen blueberries. It's kind of a staple of our diet. Should we just be steering clear of all berries altogether, or just specifically this brand?
Wash them. Quit being a dirty fuck.
What are the best practices here?
Yeah, you know, like your house, my house is also a fan of the frozen fruit, and we're not going to be stopping to buy frozen blueberries altogether, but, you know, this is another reason why people really need to pay attention to food recalls, whether it's, you know, checking the FDA website or watching this show or other news programs. It's really important to stay sort of informed about these because you don't want to stop eating all frozen fruit altogether or fruit altogether. They're healthy, nutritious foods, but definitely stay away from this brand, the Greenwise recalled frozen blueberries, and watch for any signs or symptoms of E. coli if you have been exposed to them recently.
But you can understand why people are freaked out, right? I mean, we're at this point now where we've been told to avoid certain types of lettuce, jalapenos, now it's frozen berries. The problem is that someone has to get sick first before we figure out there's a problem here. Is there anything we can do ahead of time? Is rinsing your produce in the sink enough? Is there further steps that people can do to avoid the...
It's not gonna... Listen, people are sitting here, they're calling me a piece of shit. They're like, just because you wash the skin of an apple or whatever doesn't mean that you kill the E. coli. I'm like, you still have a better chance of not dying.
That seem to be out there.
It is enough, and it is what the FDA and the CDC...
Boom! Bitch, the FDA and the CDC agree with me, as per the usual.
The outbreaks that seem to be out there.
It is enough, and it is what the FDA and the CDC recommend, is rinsing that fruit under warm or under cold running water.
It's troublesome, and you may not assume it is, being so intelligent, but it's almost alienating. You know, it's like people, they look at me and they're like, these imbeciles. These imbeciles who are like, no, I can just eat a banana, right? Like, I don't have to, why would I wash the peel? You don't eat the peel. I'm like, listen... It's tough when you're surrounded by people who are slower on the evolution pipeline. Like they're still a little bit pushing dirt around with the sticks, and they're still kind of like they got their arms dragging across the ground while they walk. And it's like, it's very much like, okay, I am the upper hominid. I have excellent posture. I am the Homo erectus, and other people are still they are the bonobos. They are still, unfortunately, they are relying on like the primitive ways of understanding the world, where it's like, well, no, I just like, I eat the fruit because the fruit's there. Well, I go, well, maybe there's the chance that bacteria or something that'll make you sick is on the fruit. And they go, what is bacteria? And I go, this is just like, I don't understand it. You know what I mean? It's tough because it's people that are supposedly supposed to be smart. Like I've met people who go to college and whatnot. I've never gone to college. Who goes to college? You know what I mean? Like if you have the money for it, and if you're gonna chasing a dream, go to college and whatnot. But these people that society tells me is like the smartest among me, these people that are so much smarter than me because they got a stamp from a degree mill that says that they're way smarter than me. They probably are, but they still haven't figured out that they need to wash their fruit. I've seen idiots. I'm sorry to say it. No, not idiots. Just like the lowest of society. I'm gonna put it in a gentler way. A gentlier? I like gentlier. That we're gonna use that word instead. I'm gonna put it in a gentlier way. They're the lowest common denominator. They're the lowest of IQ. They're the people who will eat. They'll eat. What's it called? What is the one fruit? What is the one fruit that I'm thinking of? Well, it's the one where it has like the bulbs on it. Essentially, not cranberries. Raspberries. There you go. They'll eat the raspberries. They'll eat all of those things, and they won't bother to wash it. I'm like, look at all of those tiny little crevices they could be hiding. They could be hiding little bacteria that are just waiting to nestle themselves into your spinal cavity.
If you have fruits like apples or cucumbers, like vegetables like cucumbers, you can get a little bit more abrasive and scrub them a little bit harder, Ryan. But for most people out there, whether it's Cyclospora, Salmonella, or E. coli, just a real big reminder to practice those food safety tips. Whether it's cooking your meat all the way, washing the countertops after you handle raw meat, washing those fruits and vegetables. The really best form of medicine is preventive medicine. You don't want to wait until you get sick, and then it could potentially be too late, Ryan.
Yikes.
So I'm going to keep eating the berries, at least for now. Dr. Sayal, thank you so much.
Keep eating your berries, dude. Just do whatever you want. I'm not going to yell at you. You're an adult. I'm not going to lecture anybody. Eat what you want. Just make sure that you don't die. Okay, folks? Because I want you to be there for Monday's episode. I want you to be there. I want you to survive the weekend. Do your best to avoid getting sick. Folks, I had a wonderful time gathering these stories for you. I hope you had an even more wonderful time listening to them. I had a great time. I had an amazing Friday. I hope that you have an even more wonderful wonderful Friday with whatever it is you choose to do with your Friday. I hope that you have a great weekend. If you'd like to be there for Monday's episode after we give you the weekend off, subscribe if you want more, like if you liked it, ring the bell for notifications. Otherwise, I've been Ollie Vogt Larson with your Brain on Air. Thank you all so very much for listening. I'll catch you in the next broadcast. But in the meantime, bye-bye.